This is the Classic Auto Mall Show. Broadcast from the studios inside the Classic Auto Mall in Morgantown, Pennsylvania. Just 1 hour west of Philadelphia at Pennsylvania Turnpike exit 298. Featuring nearly 1,000 classic, vintage, and barn-find vehicles for sale under one climate-controlled roof. Now, here's your host, Classic Auto Mall president and the man with all the toys, Stewart Howden.
And welcome show number 219 on a beautiful sunshiny... No, it's not sunshiny.
We call it overcast.
Worse than overcast. It's cold and overcast.
That's right.
All right, before we get to our guest, how many cars in inventory, JR? You go first.
I'm going to say 942.
Ooh.
Interesting. I was going to go 915.
938. So you did good, Steve.
I win again.
You win the prize again.
All right.
So
Darn you.
938 cars. It's growing back. We're gaining our inventory back because we either sell too much or do something. So quit selling so much, guys. Come on.
Yeah, really. Slow down.
Let's get to our guest. Joining us from the West Coast, Mr. Bruce Meyer, automotive enthusiast on the board of directors and co-vice chairman of the Petersen Museum, founder of the Rodeo Drive Concours d'Elegance, and I hear former mail-order candle salesman. I had heard some.
You did a deep dive on that one.
Well, I got nothing better to do. So they like to keep me off the floor. They say I get a little snarky out there. So I just sit back here in my office and work on spreadsheets and that kind of thing. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Stewart. And I got to tell you that your operation, it has to be unique in the world. I was at a place called Auto World in Germany about a month ago.
Right.
But it was described kind of like your place, but then when I saw your place, there's nothing like your place. It is amazing, and it was moving. Your video moves so fast; it's hard to. There's a hot rod. I love hot rods, and then over here is a muscle car, and it's just fabulous. So if you want a car, what an opportunity for somebody to see them all.
We did it on a wing and a prayer. We weren't sure that it was going to work. My partner had the building. We just didn't know if we could get enough cars on consignment was the first real hurdle to know that, hey, is there enough cars out there? Turns out there is plenty of cars. We consign probably 12 or 1,300 cars every year. And we decided that we wanted to be good at the marketing and we wanted to be good at consignment and didn't want to own the vehicles because how do you go find 1,000 cars for sale and do that every 6 months and have the turnover? So it worked out better than expected. So I'm hoping this will be my last job ever. So,
well, it's fabulous,
right.
and what an opportunity for people nationwide to find a place for their car and hopefully find a new home for their car.
Absolutely,
in a clean environment, and somebody that understands it and can talk about it. I think that's. Anyways, great service.
Yeah, it's worked out very well. And, of course, we tell our customers a lot of times the most famous statement attributed to you, which is buy the best and cry only once. I love that. Is that yours? That. I love that.
I heard actually my mom used it one time, but it really pertains to my love of cars. And I'm very picky.
Sure.
And, I've just, I learned early lessons of thinking I was buying a bargain, and I just bought a lot of trouble. Yeah. So, anyways, I live by that, and I've overpaid for every car I have.
Yeah. Well, or bought too soon, right? So.
Yeah.
Did your mom also come up with the never lift? I like that as well, too.
No. My mom was super type A and kind of gave me my work ethic. And
sure.
But, never lift is just. I live by that. I'm an old man, and I think when you slow down, I've had friends that slow down, and it usually comes to a stop.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that just yet.
I hear you. It's amazing how much longer people are living. And of course, it begs the question of, how long will you live and how much money do you need to live and all of that. I think that makes it a little bit difficult. But as long as you continue to have fun, I think that's the antidote to death. So.
I'm with you.
And of course, growing up in Southern California and being a car guy, is there not many better places to be in the world if you love cars?
I just thank God every day that I was born when and where.
Oh, yeah.
Because I buy a little bit of real estate, and if I were like in some small town USA, I probably would have done the same thing and wouldn't have had the success. So,
Sure.
I was born at a time when you could really start with nothing and end up with something. It was the perfect time for cars and hot rods and the whole car culture. I mean, I just can't imagine being born at any other time, when you could work on your cars and, so.
Yeah, I'm with you. And music too of that era. I mean, there's arguably no better music than what we grew up with in the 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Yeah. Well, I actually grew up in the 40s. So
right. Well,
but you're right. No music in this. I mean, I still, listen to music. The 60s and 70s music, that was just what we did.
Absolutely. It was all part of it. And of course, I lived in Los Angeles. I moved out there in 1981 and lived there for about 3 years in Pasadena. And the culture of cars out there, I came from East Tennessee, which there was one Rolls Royce in the whole state, I think, and I'll never forget the first time I drove down Wilshire Boulevard. My buddy and I were like, there is a lot of Rolls Royces here. We must have counted 100 in about a 10-block period. And it was like, wow.
Yeah.
I think we're in car world.
Oh, yeah. And it is car world out here. And Pasadena's a good town for that.
Oh, yeah. It was great. And I love going home. We'd hang out on the Sunset Strip and act like we were, cool and rock stars. And we'd drive home at night and those guys would be running down the Pasadena freeway doing those bonsai runs at about 2 a.m. in Countach's and 512 Berlinetta boxers, and it was just almost every night I would be driving home. A couple of 3 cars would just pass you like you were sitting still.
Yeah.
So
it was.
So, founder of the Rodeo Drive Concours d'Elegance, that was an event that you started having on Father's Day back in what year was that you started that?
Oh, God. There were 4 of us that started it. Because the city of Beverly Hills had a fire truck that they'd bought brand new, and it was just kind of derelict in the back of the firehouse. And I want to say it was a 1926 Aaron Fox.
Yeah.
And so there were 4 of us that got together and decided we were going to do a car show and raise some money to benefit the restoration of that fire truck. So that was when we started. I want to say it's got to be, 25, 30 years ago.
Right.
I should have these numbers right at the tip of my tongue, but we started with a car show. It was a fellow named Andy Cohen who started Beverly Hills Motoring Accessories, and Jimmy Duffy and one other guy and myself.
Right.
And I'm the last one standing. Sadly, they've all passed.
Sure.
But we started with a little car show in front of our high school, and it grew. And then Ferrari reached out to me because they wanted to close Rodeo Drive to do a car show. This was probably in the early 90s.
Right.
And they couldn't close Rodeo, and I had some clout. I had some property on Rodeo, so I went to the city and I got it closed for them. And then we just started thinking, this is the perfect place. This is where we should move our car show.
Right.
And then the LA Roadster Club, which is a hot rod club here in town, did an event on Father's Day. And Father's Day seemed to be a good day because there were no other, at that point, conflicting events. And it was a day that, dads could do what they wanted to do, and come on down.
Sure.
And so we switched it over to Father's Day, and it's been that way, I want to say, probably 20 years or more. And it's a great show. It's free to the public. We get the city of Beverly Hills has cameras and facial recognition. They're state of the art. And they counted last year that we had over 40,000 people on the street, and then there's an additional street.
Wow.
So we figure we're pushing 50,000 people through there.
Wow. And I love that it's free to the public to come in. That our place here is free to the public to come in, and we want to share. We want to perpetuate this hobby, and that's a great way to do it, to get people, especially people who would say, "Oh, if I'm going to have to pay, I'm not going to go in," or if I'm going to have to pay to see that, but they don't have to pay. They see it and they go, "Oh, I'm in love with this now, and now I want to be a part of whatever this is, a concours or here or wherever."
I got to think your showroom is the best car show on the East Coast.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of warm in the winter and kind of cool in the summer. So.
Yeah. Now, do you do cars and coffees, or something to support that? Do you have a big parking?
We do. We have the Camaro Nationals here every summer, and they bring 700 Camaros to our facility here. So in addition to 1,000 cars in the building, you got 700 cars in the parking lot, and that's all free to spectate as well too. I don't know how you see that many cars in one day. It's a task.
Fabulous.
Yeah, and we do charity events here as well too, where local churches and things want to hold shows and have been doing that. We're in our 8th year here, and they've been doing that, and we don't ever charge them to have the event here because, look, it's good for business. You bring car guys to a car place, it's invariably we're going to sell a few cars because of it. But it's nice. It's nice to be able to give back. It's when I had 20 cars in a warehouse, I really couldn't do this. So it's nice to be in this position.
Well, Stewart, you really build an amazing, business.
Well, I appreciate that, and I know that you have quite the collection of cars, and I've seen video and interviews with you in the past, and some of the collection of cars. You have quite the place too. Now, you're not open to the public. Do you ever open it up for charity events and things like that of your collection, or
I don't want to say yes,
right?
Because it might invite, but I have. With the Petersen, we have an event there tomorrow night for the Petersen,
right?
And so I'll open it up for friends. I mean, obviously, look at it. Sharing it is great joy for me. It's just not open to the public.
Sure.
And I do share it with different clubs, Porsche Club and Ferrari Club, and a few other people have come by and enjoyed it. And that's the fun thing. I say, if you're the last man on earth and you've got the Ferrari GTO and you have nobody to share it with, what's the fun of it?
Exactly. What's the point? Isn't that the truth? Well, you certainly have quite the collection of cars, and bought too soon, bought too late, doesn't matter. I mean, one of my favorites is when I lived out in Los Angeles, my favorite thing to do was go to Riverside and watch the 935 screaming down that back straight. And you happen to have one of the coolest ones, the Whittington Brothers 935 K3, which was, I guess, won in 1979, right?
Overall, yeah. It's a great story and an unbelievable car. And I take it out. I do track days, but of course, I'm not qualified to. Right. So I say, people say, do you bring these cars out and race them? I said, the only history that I could add to my cars would be bad.
Right.
I'd be the guy that put that into the wall,
Exactly. Because these cars were a handful, apparently, especially the 935s.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
A friend of mine, Pasadena guy, Jim Busby, raced a 935, and a couple of my other friends had a Bruce Canepa, and they just said, Bruce, just make sure if you put your foot into it, make sure you're going laser straight. And the same at Bonneville. If you're anything but absolutely straight, you're going to reverse ends real quick. Because with a 935, you got about 800 horsepower. That wants to pass the front, and give it any opportunity, it will do that.
It will do so. I saw the video of you at Bonneville in your 29 Bonneville Roadster, and what an amazing thing. It sounded like you were spinning the tires at close to 200. It sounded in the video. I heard the whine get a little higher.
You were listening. You were paying attention. I wasn't going 200 at that point, but yeah, you have to apply the throttle. You don't just mash on it, And it was a great run. It was like to go over 200 in a Roadster is something very special. And it's something I always wanted to do as a hot rodder,
Sure.
So we built that car and just had a great time with it.
Yeah, it looked like a lot of fun. And of course, you get the hat too. So there's that,
Yeah. Well, you get the hat. I got the hat in a Jack Rogers Camaro.
I saw that.
What's interesting is the 200 mile an hour club. It's not just going 200 miles an hour.
Right.
You have to break an existing Bonneville record.
Gotcha.
So because there's a lot of cars you can just go out and drive 200 miles an hour. You don't get a hat.
Right.
So you have to break an existing 200 mile an hour record and then back it up. So do it twice.
Right.
And so that hat, red hat, is there are fewer, the fellow told me there are fewer red hats than climbers that did Everest or something.
Oh, right. Well,
it's a great club.
It's amazing. And I just got an email this morning that Pebble Beach is going to have the Sunbeam 1,000 horsepower land speed record car from 1929 at the Concours d'Elegance this coming year in 2026. And that car went 203 in Daytona in like 1928 or 29, somewhere in that era.
Probably with a big aero engine on the sand, you know. I'll tell you, it's an interesting thing because, you know, we all like to drive fast, but, you know, you get over 125, 100, you know, 150 mile an hour and over, things can happen very quick and it can end very badly.
Yeah.
And so I really admire those guys that, you know, that went out and did those fabulous feats in that period.
Yeah, crazy. And I mean, people say, well, you go to the Autobahn and run unlimited. Well, you can, but you really can't.
Yeah, you got to be careful. And a lot of bad things happen, you know, when guys decide they're going to go flat out.
Well, because your perception of depth and distance and all that is kind of distorted when you're going that fast. And plus, you're probably, you know, half scared to death.
Well, and also, you know, what I realize how important aerodynamics are.
Right.
You know, like Alois Roof when he built the Yellowbird.
Right.
He used a narrow body. He took the drip rails off. He used, you know, aero mirrors. It's the little stuff. It's the little things that matter. It slow the car down, and it's also the little things that can get you airborne.
Right.
And airborne, when you get into those speeds, it's you take flight. I mean, it can end very badly.
Sure. Well, and looking at just like for you in your Bonneville run in your 29 Roadster, I mean, just getting in and out of it is difficult. It doesn't look that easy just to hop in. You know, you're not.
Well, you know, Bonneville and land speed racers take safety very, very seriously.
Sure.
You can be, you know, Jimmy Johnson and you have to qualify in that car. And you've got to go 125 and you've got to go 150 and 175 and then you can go 200. So you just can't just hop in one of those cars and go fast. The other thing is you're in the car, they strap you down and they say you're on fire. So you have to get out of that car within a matter of seconds. They watch you to make sure you shut off the fuel and the battery and, you know, because they want you to, I mean, my biggest fear was fire.
Yeah.
You know, I just thought, because you're a long way from a fire truck. And so, and you got to get out of that car really quick.
Right.
And it's amazing how you can fly out of that car if you need to. But you're right, there's a cage over your head and you're strapped in and you're sitting low and you're buried in that car. But, you know, if you need to get out in a hurry, you find a way somehow, and I did.
Yeah, somehow, some way. There's a will, there's a way. I think people lift, you know, heavy cars off of somebody that's trapped underneath them. You see people do superhuman things when put to the test.
Exactly right.
And so some of the other cars in your collection, I think here's one that you probably didn't overpay for, and that would be the 275 GTB and Giallo Fly, the yellow Ferrari. I think you did okay on that one.
I did. You know what's interesting? So I bought that car in 1970.
Who even knew about those in 70?
Yeah, and you know, I paid about $10,000 for the car.
Right.
And you could buy a GTO in the eights for $8,000, $8,500.
Right.
So, and I remember when I bought the car, a friend of mine wanted to trade me a GTO, and he had it advertised for $8,500. And I thought, like, how stupid do you think I am? You know, I could buy your car for less money. So,
sure.
I think the 275 is just one of the most sublimely beautiful cars.
Absolutely.
And yeah.
Although, you know, the Testarossa isn't too shabby either, though. That silver color. Oh.
Yeah, that has an interesting story. I bought a Porsche in 1960 from a fellow named John von Neumann, and he was the Porsche distributor. He was kind of the Max Hoffman on the West Coast.
Right.
Max Hoffman, you know, did so much for Porsche and Mercedes and so forth out on the on the East Coast, and von Neumann was the distributor for Ferrari and Porsche in Hollywood, California. And I grew up in Hollywood. That's where I grew up. And I used to ride my bicycle by his showroom and so forth. So he had that Testarossa, and it was driven by Richie Ginther and Ken Miles. So it was a sublimely beautiful car.
Oh.
So about 20 years ago, I decided I got to find that car. And Stewart, there's guys that can just find stuff. They know where things are. And I went to a couple of them, and I said, see if you can find this car for me. Well, it turned out that they both found the car, that it was seized by Interpol in Europe. It was owned by a famous drug dealer who got put in prison in The Hague.
Right. Nice.
And Interpol had seized the car, and it was sitting in some kind of bonded warehouse for years.
Wow.
So I bought that car at a sealed bid auction probably 25 years ago.
Wow.
But I think that car is so beautiful.
Oh.
And by Ferrari's records, it never raced at the Targa Florio or any of the big time European races. It just was local.
But
Santa Barbara,
right.
I'd say New Mexico, Texas, Mexico, California. But it won a lot of races, and by their records, it was the most winning Ferrari ever. And it won like 50 races,
Wow.
with Ginther and Ken Miles and Von Neumann driving it. They were all very accomplished drivers.
Sure. And it wasn't some kind of, charity race that they were running back there, and they were running seriously. So it's a testament to that car. To have that. And of course, with the Ken Miles connection, also you have Cobra, the first retail Cobra ever, CSX 2001. God, that is my favorite car. It has to be. And I was going to say that.
And I bought that. I say a blind squirrel can find an acorn every now and then, and that is my acorn.
Yeah.
I was at an event in Europe called Retromobile.
Sure.
About 20 years ago, and a very well-known dealer had put that on his stand. It was before Retromobile officially opened. It was setup day,
right?
And I love that picture behind you. I love Cobras. I knew Carroll Shelby very, very well, and Cobra really is a hot rod effort. I can go deep into that, but
sure.
So I'd had a Cobra since the 60s. And I ran into this car, and the dealer, Lucas Hooney, said, Bruce, that's the very first Cobra ever built, CSX 2001. And I'm going, there's no way. It had different flares on it.
Sure.
It just didn't look like the first one.
Right.
So anyways, he brought out all these files. It turned out that the car was built by a fellow named Ed Hughes, who was back your way.
Yeah, in Pittsburgh.
I mean, Ed Hughes is a very, very important cog in the Cobra wheel, because he's the one that financed Carroll Shelby, and also, took delivery of the first few cars,
right,
and took delivery of this car, and then sold it to a fellow named Lloyd Lucky Kasner. He had a race team called Camarati Racing,
right,
and he took to Le Mans. So he took the car pretty, when it was just a year old, to Le Mans, and it stayed in France until I repatriated the car, 20 years ago.
Right.
And it's very unusual. It has, well, I don't want to. I mean, I can spend the whole time on this. But basically, he sold it to a very wealthy Frenchman. At the time he bought the car in 1964. Shelby had just come out with the FIA cars, which is kind of a notchback door.
Right.
Weber carburetors, and so Lloyd, so his name was Jean-Marie Vincent. He said, "I want this car to be an FIA car. Well, at whatever it costs."
Wow!
So they sent the car to Ford Racing of Europe, and that's where it got the big rear flares and the Webers and the kind of the cool stuff that I like about the car. That was all done in 1964.
Wow.
So, and then he raced the car in 64, 65, and 66, and did quite well with it.
And the car was a number of different colors, right? I mean, it was originally delivered red, and then it was yellow, green, black. I read 4 or 5 different colors maybe over the years.
Okay, well, that's interesting because now, there's 2 cars that CSX. So every Cobra is known by a CSX.
Sure.
By the way, you're absolutely right. CSX 2000 was his prototype. And whenever he'd give it to a magazine, he'd change the color. So people kind of knew that CSX 2000 was a lot of different colors.
Right.
It turns out that this car of mine was born red, and then it sold to a fellow in Morocco. He painted it yellow.
Right.
And I think it was then it was back to red, and then when I bought it, it was Aston Martin green.
Right.
And so I've always preferred the black kind of Sebring car look.
Yeah.
And so it was my choice to go black.
Yeah.
And what it is today.
Well, I saw the car when we were in Pebble Beach this year when you took off for the tour, and man, that car had the best sound of any car that was there.
I'm with you. I love that V8 sound.
And is there? And I know you've got oddball stuff too. I mean, not oddball, but you have hot rod stuff. You're a huge hot rodder, and you feel like probably most of us feels that hot rodding is arguably one of the most important things that ever happened to the automobile because of racing and just everything the connotation that it came. The desirability of a car went from that's a 1932 Ford to a 32 Ford Roadster, lowered chop channel, all that. Wow, and you've got a few of those.
Stewart, I am such a proponent of the importance of hot rodding. It was a period.
Sure.
And for me, it was really the 40s and 50s and 60s, but mostly the 40s where the GIs came back with their combat pay and picture their girlfriend and their dream car in their wallet, They couldn't wait to get going. So hot rodding really flourished in the 40s. And the hot rodders were geniuses. They were the Bill Remingtons and Carroll Shelbys and Dan Gurneys and Parnelli. All those guys had hot rods.
Right.
And so the technology, the performance, the ingenuity, that all came out of hot rodding. That built the Cobra, the Scarab, and so much of what we love. And then they went back to Detroit and, carried that information, that talent back there. So hot rodders to me started it all. It all.
Absolutely. I mean, it was such an important thing because most of those guys didn't have very much money back then. So in order to make these things, they had to be pretty darn creative and, using a part from somewhere, whatever they had, they used.
100%, and they did it themselves.
Right. For
the most part. And there was guys like, Edelbrock and Alex Exidius, just talented craftsmen that, dreamt stuff, put it together. And yeah, it was just a wonderful period in the automotive and the history of the automobile,
sure,
in my opinion. And so we didn't have the money for cars. And my parents thought wasting your time and your resources on a car was just, Bruce, don't do it.
Yeah.
And of course, if it's in your DNA, it's in your DNA. You can't take that out.
You can't help it.
No, and you can't put it in because I've got some friends with great cars and their kids have no interest. But I'm lucky.
Yeah.
My middle son shares the love of cars. But I don't know where I'm going with this, except that.
Well, we're just spitballing here. Yeah.
So I finally, in the 70s, I decided I'm going to get a hot rod.
Right.
And I bought a hot rod, and I wasn't sure if it was a 32 Ford. I bought it from Jim Busby, who is a vintage racer.
Right.
And I wasn't sure how people were going to accept, hot rods, because it was, at that time, it was, they weren't Porsche guys, they were, I just thought, is this going to dumb down my reputation or help it,
Right.
Anyways, to make a long story short, people were loving it, giving me thumbs up, and it just took off from there.
Sure.
And I decided what I'm going to do is I'll see if I can look at some of these seminal hot rods that were on the cover of Hot Rod magazine. And I went through a lot of covers of hot rods and did a lot of research into old hot rods, and I picked out a few that I thought were pretty special, and then researched where they were and who had them. And another guy that was doing this at the same time was a fellow named Kirk White.
Yeah, our buddy from here in Pennsylvania.
I'm telling you, Kirk, I mean, he looked like the country club guy, always dressed in pink and bright, just
collar turned up. Yeah. He always had
collar,
that. Yeah.
That's the guy.
Yeah.
And so he and I that's when we really became great friends. And that had to be in the 80s, when we were both researching and finding old hot rods, and he found some and I found some, and we were just enjoying the hobby together.
Yeah.
What a character.
Oh, and he was a Ferrari dealer back in the day. I mean, the stories of Ferrari GTOs that he sold and barely, just scraped by to get $8,000 or $9,000 for a GTO Ferrari or a 330 MM or just name it. Every kind of cool Ferrari you could ever imagine. He had it and sold it at one point in time. And, crystal ball would all be great to have if we knew what was coming in the future.
Well, I could spend the rest of this podcast, the two of us could, about Kirk White.
Sure.
I used to went back to Hershey every year, and he'd always set up a little tent with very expensive toys, usually a motorcycle and a car.
Right.
And asked outrageous prices.
Set the market.
They were very special, and his tastes were at a very high level. And there's a book he wrote called Don't Wash Mine.
It's a great book.
Compilation of emails that he would send to his friends about his history.
Yeah. It's
the most colorful history. I'm really not much of a reader, and that book is a big book. But I tell you, I read every word, savored every word. It was all written by Kirk. It sounded like Kirk. And he talked about how I think his stepfather took him to a midget race one time, and then got involved. He loved racing, and then took off, and he had one of the first auctions.
1970 or 71, I believe it was, a classic car auction, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I mean, that man was a Renaissance man.
Yeah,
and in the world we love.
Sure.
And sadly, it's probably our generation's the last generation that can tell real Kirk White stories.
I'm afraid that's probably the truth. And it's interesting, you hit on it just a minute ago, Bruce, about the fact that there's guys that used to be just hot rod guys, or guys were just Ferrari guys, or guys were just Harley guys. Now you go in a guy's garage and he's got a hot rod, he's got a Ferrari, he's got a Harley, he's got a muscle car, he's got a M6 BM, it runs the gamut. Guys are just car guys, whatever that may be.
My kind of guys,
yeah,
and your kind of guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I remember seeing in your showroom, you got bikes and hot rods, and I mean, it's just like the best car show in the world.
Yeah, our guys have got to be well versed in lots of things, because we never know what's showing up. We just meet guys out at shows and we give them the paperwork and say, when you're ready to bring your XYZ, bring it on in. And today it may be a Pantera, and tomorrow it may be a Volkswagen Beetle, and an AMC Pacer rolls in. And we're like kids in a candy store. I love it when my phone rings and the guys will be up front and I'm back in my office and they'll go, "Get up here right now," because something cool has just rolled in. So I don't delay, and I get right up there. And another wonderful place to visit, nice segue into this, is the thing that you're heavily involved in. And that's the Petersen Museum, which is the coolest museum ever, and not an easy business to be in, for lack of a better term.
Well, so my hero growing up was Robert E. Petersen, and he created and published and owned Hot Rod Magazine, which was really the first magazine that I ever subscribed to. I mean, I didn't even know there was such a thing as a subscription. Right. My parents had Life magazine. I had Hot Rod. And by the way, they were similar, because Robert E. Petersen was such a brilliant businessman. He figured, Life magazine's the most popular magazine. So if you look at the early Hot Rod magazines, it's the format of Life magazine, with Life in the red, reversed out in red,
right?
And Hot Rod reversed out in red. But anyway, so Petersen, he was a car guy in that he started a lot of car titles, but he wasn't a car guy like you and I.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't full. He wasn't corrupted like our PR. So he was a really good businessman. And I say Petersen was an opportunistic buyer. In other words, if there was somebody needed money, or it was a real opportunity purchase, he would find a way. And he bought real estate, art, businesses. I mean, he was a brilliant businessman.
Right.
So he found this entire city block in Los Angeles and didn't know what to do with it. And so I had met him through there's a group called Young Presidents Organization, YPO. We'd met together, and he came to me and said, Bruce, I just bought this big old building, and it was a department store. Let's make it a car museum, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't take you twice to hear that.
Yeah. So I was kind of the lead guy that kind of put it together. And he owned the building, and he put his money in. I didn't have the money to do, to invest like he did. So we put it together. That was 30 years ago.
Wow.
And at the beginning, it was kind of the place that Pete could put his cars. I could put my cars. It was just kind of a bunch of guys hanging out, Levi's and T-shirts,
right.
And now we have reinvented ourselves. We are a cultural institution. By the way, our vault is very much like the Auto Mall. If you go into the vault, did you go into the vault downstairs?
I haven't been there because the last time I was there was like 22 years ago. So
oh no, Stewart, you've got to make the trip.
I'm already planning on it.
Well, you'll let me know, right?
I will, absolutely will.
Because you really need to see our vault, which has 300 cars in it.
Wow.
Unbelievable cars, race cars, hot rods, muscle cars, classics, Rolls Royce, Porsche, everything.
Wow.
And that has become a big feature of our museum. And then upstairs we have 3 floors of really great displays.
Yeah.
Fabulous. We have the one we have now is called Totally Awesome. It's in our main display, and it's cars of the 80s and 90s.
It hits a hot button with all my guys here. They love those 80s and 90s cars.
And that is, so does my son.
Yeah.
And the Countach and the Cyclone and the Typhoon and all that stuff. But anyways, so we have that. We have a great artistic display. We have the history of Aston Martin. We have supercars, hypercars. There's a fellow in Chicago, Bortz.
Yeah, Joe Bortz, yeah.
Joe Bortz. We have some of his cars. I mean, we honestly, we have something for everybody. And what's interesting is that our demographic when we first opened it was like probably 80% my age guys.
Right.
Now it's probably 55% men, 45% women.
Wow.
Age group, I mean, total across the horizon age variation.
Right.
We have grandmothers bringing their grandsons in, grandsons bringing their grandmothers in.
Right.
It really is a huge success. We'll have 500,000 people through this year.
That's fantastic because the car museum business, as I said, is very difficult. It's difficult to make money. It's difficult to raise money. Because remember the old days, a car museum was a row of 20 Model Ts in black, dimly lit and real dusty. And so not very exciting.
You know that? Did you ever know Mark Smith?
Yeah. Yeah, that was the first thing that came to mind.
Another guy. But so you're 100%. There was a great museum in Reno, Nevada, the Harris Museum.
Sure.
And whenever I get a little spare time, I'd run up and see that because I went to school in Northern California. But, there's a situation where it was like buildings. He had, I think, 1,200 or 1,300 cars.
Yeah.
And you could hardly make it through the first building before you were just bored. It had every year Ford. It's the variety, and that's what we have at the Petersen. We have a great variety.
Sure.
Beautifully displayed.
Well, I'm definitely going to come see it the next time I'm in the area, which won't be too terribly long, and I will definitely look you up when I get there. And this was wonderful. My last question I always like to ask people is, there are 2 questions for you. Number 1, is there a car that shows up at your doorstep that you can't say no to? Is that a Bugatti Royale? Is there anything left on the list of what you just would have to have?
And the good news is it's unobtainium, but
Exactly.
there is a car. I have I don't really look at my group of cars as a collection because they're all cars that I've raced or used or lusted over. But there's one car that I like 3 cars ago, I said I was done, but I managed to find a few that needed to be. But It's a Scarab.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Lance Reventlow was a local Beverly Hills guy. Now, I didn't grow up in Beverly Hills, but he was local to Beverly Hills. He was the heir to Woolworths, had all the money in the world, and he decided he spent some time in Europe, and he decided he was going to build a car in America, in California, all hot rodders, and they built the Scarab, and it was, Troutman and Barnes and Phil Remington. It was all the guys, all the genius hot rodders. They were all hot rodders.
Fabricators, yeah.
Fabricated, 100%. And so they built this car called the Scarab, and it kicked every Ferrari and Maserati. Nothing in Europe could touch it.
Isn't that fantastic?
And what's interesting is he kind of he was going to go Formula One racing, kind of lost interest, and then sold his shop to Carroll Shelby.
Wow.
So Shelby, I know Shelby went to Dean Moon's shop for the very first one.
Right.
But all of Shelby's guys started with Scarab.
Wow.
And so anyways, the answer is the Scarab.
Yeah.
Now there's only 3 of them. And one of them is owned by John Mozart, a big collector in Northern California. Yeah. That's going nowhere.
Nowhere, yeah.
The other is Miles Collier.
Not going anywhere.
No, that's not going anywhere. And the other is Rob Walton, and that doesn't have to go anywhere. So there's only 3. They're in good hands. I'm glad they're there because I couldn't afford it if it came my way.
Wish them well on that. Okay, so last question is, what's your daily driver?
Uh-oh. Well, I'm very proud of this car. It's a 1996 Suburban.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
It's and I sent it up to Bruce Canepa. We took all the chrome off of it, and my family wants to burn it. But yeah. The more they dislike it, the more I like it.
Right, exactly. And probably would love to be able to go back and pick them up at school in it just to really embarrass them.
Oh God, yes. And I just love this car so much, and I bought it new.
I love that aerodynamic in a Suburban.
Oh yeah, on the ground, down in front, Biggie Littles,
Yeah, I'm telling you, if you'd have picked the kids up at school, they'd have really not liked you.
It's so funny because they're kind of getting around to liking it now.
It's kind of coming full circle, right? Yeah.
When I first got it, my son had a Typhoon, and I've driven Suburban since '80.
Sure.
And they were usually the 4-wheel drive 2500. So this one is a 1500. I put a supercharger on it, headers, and it had a gob of horsepower for like 50 feet,
right.
And then it would just run out of everything.
A little bit too much weight, right?
It could touch me for the first 50 feet. And my son, his little Typhoon was turbocharged, so it couldn't spool up. Anyway, right. Blah, blah, blah. It was a way of showing my son who's boss.
Well, send me that picture because I enjoyed the other pictures and videos that you sent me the other day, and I really appreciate having you on the show today, Bruce. Just a wonderful conversation. We could certainly do it again, and I'll certainly look you up next time I'm in SoCal.
I'll leave the light on for you, Stewart.
All right, take care. Bruce Meyer, everybody.
Thank you.
We'll be back
much.
in just a couple minutes on the Classic Auto Mall Show.
The Classic Auto Mall has more than 1,000 vehicles for consignment in our huge 8-acre climate-controlled showroom. It's a real indoor mall. If you'd like to know all the advantages of buying and selling a car through consignment, the information is available on our website, or you can talk to a classic car specialist who can answer all your questions. It's easy, safe, convenient, and it doesn't matter where you are. We sell worldwide. See our huge selection of classic and collectible vehicles at classicautomall.com.
And we're back with the Classic Auto Mall Show from the Classic Auto Mall studio in Morgantown, Pennsylvania, with our new friend Bruce Meyer, who is a fantastic guest as always. Thanks again to Judy Stropus for getting us these wonderful guests. And next week we got Spike Feresten, who has got his own podcast and show, and buddies with Seinfeld and the big Porsche guy as well too. So we're looking forward to having him on, as well as our current guest, Keith Martin, publisher of Sports Car Market magazine. We're bringing the blog to life this week, Keith. And good morning to you, or afternoon, or evening, or wherever you are.
Same to you. It's a beautiful sunny day here.
Oh, yeah.
And when we get a good fall day and you're up in the 60s and it's not raining, this is the best place in the world.
It really is. No humidity, no mosquitoes, I bet, either. I bet y'all don't have any
mosquitoes. No, we send them back.
Send them down here so it'll keep people from moving from there to here, or wherever here from there, and all that. So your blog this week is, Could You Really Love an Automatic? That's funny.
Don't you think that the the pressing question in our era, not the one that means anything like peace or food for people or having jobs. The real question is automatic versus manual.
Right. And of course, a manual transmission has its limitations, obviously. And one of them is if you have a late 60s muscle car and you have a 4-speed automatic, you are desperate for either a 4-speed manual. You're either desperate for a 5th speed in the manual or an automatic transmission because it sounds like it's going to completely disintegrate when you're driving down the road at 60 miles an hour.
So don't you think with those Tremec 5 speeds that they've solved that problem?
I think so. And I'd say no harm, no foul in putting one of those in a muscle car. I mean, it'll save the original one for the purist guy who's going to buy it 20 years from now and want to have the original transmission. That's fine. But I see no harm and no foul in doing that because it's a much more enjoyable experience. And ultimately, isn't that what it's all about?
Well, very well said, Stewart. We had a reader forum a couple months ago, and Bruce Canepa said some good things. He said, it's your car. If you want to put AC in your gull wing because it makes it better for you on the Colorado Grand,
sure.
I mean, as long as there's one left that's perfect originally, why shouldn't you be allowed to make it more pleasant to drive?
Sure. I have a friend who has a dual Ghia, and he put air in it. And he said, you know what? I want to enjoy it, and I didn't do any damage to it, and I didn't hurt the value of it, and it can come out if need be. But he said, it's much more pleasurable for me to drive it and enjoy it. And again, that's what it's all about. And automatic transmissions, Shelby Mustangs with an automatic transmission used to be able to not give away, and now they're becoming a little bit more popular. People are like, you know what? I kind of prefer the automatic. I hate to say it out loud because I know I'm a car guy. But I kind of like the automatic.
Well, the other thing is that if you think about it with a manual, you shift for the first 35 to 45 seconds you're driving the car.
Right.
First, second, third, fourth, and then you're done.
Done.
Because at that point you're on the freeway, you're on a 2-lane road, you're doing something, but you're not. The only place that a manual gearbox is essential is in a small motor car. Right.
Like a 289.
No, a tiny car, like it's a 4-cylinder.
Oh,
like
I see what you're saying.
MPV or something like that. I had a Volvo 122S that had a 3-speed automatic, and I don't know if I'm allowed to say the word turd on this.
You can say turd.
Okay. Oh my God. You would put a brick on the accelerator pedal, get out of the car, watch the car go across the intersection, chase the car down, jump back in, and it was so terrible. The car had my V12 Jag's got 270 horsepower. It's got a 3-speed automatic, and it's got more power than God.
And way more fun to drive and enjoyable. And listen, a manual transmission in the right circumstance, you're on a racetrack, then certainly it makes a lot of sense in a lot of respects, although Formula One cars aren't manual transmissions anymore because they're inefficient in time. Because you can't, you can certainly paddle a lot quicker than you can, shifting with a gear shift and a clutch and all that.
I just think it's interesting the stigma that's attached to, well, I can't drive a stick. Oh, you can't drive a stick. Oh, you can't. And I've taught my son, who's 18, said he doesn't care whether it's an automatic or he drives them both.
Right. And certain applications work well for certain things. If you're going down the back country roads, then a manual transmission is a lot of fun. If you get stuck in stop and go traffic, you would kill for an automatic transmission at that juncture.
Well, that our 75 911S Sportomatic is a very unloved car for a long time. But I will tell you, when you're in rush hour traffic, just leaving the car in gear and putzing with no shifting,
sure,
is pretty nice.
Well, and then you put that adaptive cruise control on, and you don't even have to slow down or brake or anything. You're just kind of sitting there reading the paper.
I was coming home in traffic last night, and I had this thought, and I almost got hit by a Tesla that was changing lanes. And I thought, I don't know. I'm on one hand, I'm a fan of self-driving cars because the accident rate is less with self-driving cars than with people.
Right.
On the other hand, I don't really know if I want to be on a crowded roadway with a bunch of self-driving cars.
Right. The only advantage I see to self-driving cars is the fact that I think you would eliminate the what the heck traffic jam that there's no explanation. There's no construction. There's no wreck. There's no nothing. They just, especially I-81 coming out of the south, coming up towards Pennsylvania, it just stops for no reason. And I can't fathom how that happens until you see the guy who's got 22 car lengths between him and the guy in front of him. And the domino effect just happens.
Or what I love is that you find out, you slow down for half an hour and you find out it's because there's an accident on the other side of the road.
Yeah,
everybody's
baffling. Or a policeman pulling over somebody because, that's, you got to, and, I get slowing down and moving over a lane and all that a little bit, but you don't have to come to a stop.
Stewart, you have been tempting me with this TR2 that you have on your website. So it's a 2, right? Or a 2A?
A 2A, yeah. Is it a 2A? Yeah, I think it's a...
I don't think it's a 3 because the 3 has that big grill.
Yeah. No, it's a 2A, I believe it is. Right, Steve? Steve's
going to check it out.
We got too many cars here. We're having a hard time keeping up.
What's a car like that worth, you think?
That one, I think, is probably in driver quality condition. I haven't really looked at this one, but I would say driver quality condition is going to be low 20s.
Yeah.
And something a little nicer, maybe up in the 30 range. I think this one's a TR2, not an A. It's got the 1991cc 4-cylinder, and it's at 31. It's nicely done, apparently, and, probably high 20s would be the real number on that car, I would think.
The market has gotten really tough on those cars.
Yeah. Well, who knows about them?
Big Heelys are half price.
Yeah. And I love big Heelys. I think they are a fun car to drive. And
I drove to the I think it was the 50th anniversary of the Austin Healey at Lake Tahoe, and there were like 8 or 9 of us in big Heelys.
Right.
And you're up at 7 in the morning, and you're all in fourth overdrive, and you're cruising on back roads, and the sound from that 6 is just amazing.
And great looking cars too. They're really, the big Heelys are good looking cars, and especially in the right color combination and with that navy blue seats with the white piping and the silver blue and the white coves. That's a damn good looking car and much more of a car than an MG is any day, although MGs are arguably more popular.
Well, they're cheaper too.
Right. that probably helps some of these guys.
I remember watching a Kurt Tanner restoration when I was in the booth at Barrett-Jackson break $100,000. And for a while, they were all breaking $100,000. Well, they were coming from either him or other well-known Healey restoration shops.
No different than Amos Mintner and the Thunderbirds and the Amphicars when they went over 100 and everybody went, what?
I was in the booth when that car crossed the block, and suddenly every $60,000 Amphicar in the world became 100.
Yeah. And they were all just, even the nicest restored ones are still kind of, they're just funny.
You want to be sure they've got new door seals.
Yeah. We had a buddy who had one, and he said, you want to take it across the lake? It's only about 3 miles. And we're like, yeah, that sounds like fun. And it was 110 degrees, and the thing goes 4 miles an hour. And you're like, this was cool for about the first 30 seconds, and now I'm miserable and want to get out.
Did you know Lyndon Johnson had one?
And used to scare reporters. He'd just go drive into the water, and they were like, whoa. Yeah, good old Lyndon. He liked to scare people. I think that was on his resume. He liked to scare people. So I think that the automatic certainly has its place. And I think the stigma that you said, us car guys who grew up in the 60s muscle cars, it's got to be a manual transmission. I think that's going away somewhat. I mean, listen, I grew up loving 70s Pontiac Trans Ams, and a 79 Trans Am 400 4-speed. A pretty cool car, but if you went out and drove it on any amount of regular basis, you probably would say, I wish it had a 5th gear.
Yeah. Oh, there's no question about the 5th gear, because the cars from the 60s were really designed for top speed 65, 70 mile an hour freeways.
Right.
Freeways are 80 miles an hour now.
And you cannot avoid getting on a freeway or interstate hardly anywhere anymore. I mean, you almost have to without it taking an extra 3 hours to get home if you want to take the back roads. And so, you've got to be out there. And there's nothing worse than feeling like you're just going to get completely run over, Pac-Man'd by the semi-truck coming up at 80 miles an hour behind you, and you're doing 48.
Well, the other thing is there's nothing worse than the buzzy feeling when your car is revving 4,500 RPM to go 65, and you're sitting there. It's like you put yourself in a spin dryer on and turned it on. With all my Alphas, most Alphas come with a 4.5 rear end, and I've swapped them all out to a 4.1 rear end. And so that means that 60 miles an hour is 3,000 RPM.
Yeah, a little bit more manageable. Doesn't feel like every bolt in the car is going to come popping off while you're going down the highway.
Yeah, or you're buzzing the car to death. I got a lot of comments on it. Most of them, there's no question that a small displacement car with a good gearbox is engaging.
Sure,
because you have to be busy doing something. And the car responds, you feel good because you know just how to shift that car.
Exactly. And you feel like you're a better driver, and you probably are a better driver. You pay more attention to your circumstances when you're driving a manual transmission versus just putting it in drive and punching the gas and going.
That's right. On the other hand, in today's world, it really, like, I've got friends who have PDK transmissions, and what they say with those Porsches, that for the first week they have them, they're flipping the paddles up and down and up and down and up and down. And then after the second week, they put it in drive and leave it alone.
And leave it alone and say, "I don't bother me. I'm thinking about this. I'm on my cell phone, whatever it is." So, well, as always, wonderful show. And thanks for being on again. And we appreciate you getting up in the early dawn hours that you have to come on. But we love talking to you every week. And we'll look forward to talking to you again next week.
It's a great treat for me. And remember, anybody out there who has a 996 Porsche with a Tiptronic, I'm a money buyer.
Thanks again. Keith Martin, publisher of Sports Car Market Magazine. We'll see you next week, and we'll catch you next week on the Classic Auto Mall Show. We'll see you then.
Here's a special offer from Sports Car Market Magazine. Get a 6-month subscription for just $19.95 by going to sportscarmarket.com/test drive and the number 6. That's sportscarmarket.com/test drive 6. If you're a buyer, a seller, or just general classic car enthusiast, publisher Keith Martin says,
we've been around almost 40 years. It's the Wall Street Journal of the collector car world.
Activate your 6-month trial of Sports Car Market Magazine by going to sportscarmarket.com/test drive 6. Offers for a limited time. Be in the know with Sports Car Market. The Classic Auto Mall Show with your host, Stewart Howden. Executive producer, Steve Seth here. Produced and engineered by yours truly, J.R. Russ. Video editor, Randy Lammy. Available on ClassicAutomall.com, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Music courtesy of the Pat Travers Band. For tour dates, contact, and stuff, visit PatTravers.com. Produced by Car Smarts Media. Copyright all rights reserved.